everyone. So my name's Josh McWilliams and this is David Fletcher. And we're going to talk to you today about unlocking international sales with a real focus on the global shipping program. So there's three things that you're going to learn today. So three things we really want you to take away from this session. The first one is a bit more about the international landscape, what's happening, and how you can really take advantage of selling internationally. So the second thing is we're going to have a live demo with David. So I'd thoroughly encourage you to get your laptops out, record the session. This session will also be recorded and available online after the session. And we're going to go a bit more deeper on how to customize your GSP listings. And the last thing is, the most important thing of this session is we've got some Q&A. We want to make this a conversation. If you've got anything that's top of your mind, then we can answer them. So the first two are going to take 20 minutes. And the last section, we've got 25 minutes at the end to answer your questions. Just let me know if this mic keeps repeating. Okay, to set the scene, I think it's really important to remember where we're at. And you might want to visualize this, close your eyes, but I'm going to take you all the way back to a word which I never thought I'd say again, which is Brexit. And we left the single market and the EU customs border at the start of 2021. This ultimately meant that Great Britain and you now had to pay taxes and duties into Europe, which made your items more expensive and dramatically dropped sales into Europe. When we fast forward 6 months, there were 3 VAT regulations brought in. We had the IOSS number, which was brought in as a digital streamlining service of the VAT into Europe. The EU removed the 22 euros restriction on items, so now you had to pay tax and duties on all items into Europe. And the last thing is that they made the marketplace, eBay, responsible for collecting and remitting all tax and duties for items over 150 euros. And if that wasn't enough, we've had COVID, the end of COVID, we've had the Ukraine conflict, which affected supply, the cost of living crisis. So overall, it's been a really challenging couple of years internationally. It's probably the last thing you want to hear first thing in the morning, but with all of that being said, experts are still reporting that there's growth in this area. So by 2030, they're forecasting that cross-border trade will triple, that 30% of the international sales will be from e-commerce. And we're actually seeing that on eBay today. So we've seen a really strong start to the year, especially with the pound to the dollar, with the pound weakening and the dollar strengthening. So we've seen a lot of items get better, which therefore means that your items are more competitive. There's a big opportunity for you to make a lot of money outside of the UK. I think sometimes we forget, but eBay is ultimately a global platform. We have 190 countries, so buyers in these 190 countries. We have 132 active buyers globally, so there's a large amount of buyers that you can access outside of the UK. And in terms of what that means for you as the business, so some of the biggest verticals that we see doing really well are fashion and tech. Our biggest corridors are US, France, Italy, Germany, and Australia. And we see around 60% of B2C or business sellers actually selling internationally. So with that, I'm going to ask some few questions to the room and you can raise your hand and answer. So I would like to understand, how many of you sell internationally today? Raise your hand. So a bit more than 60% that we see on the platform. How many of you are enrolled in the global shipping program today? So probably the same amount actually, so the amount of sellers internationally. And lastly, do you feel like you're doing the best opportunity, the best sales that you can do internationally right now? No. Okay, that's good. That's good, because there's a lot more that you can do, and hopefully during this session you'll take that away. And if you want to ask any questions, we've got that time at the end. And if not, you can come find us on our stall downstairs. So with that, I'm going to talk to you about how you can sell internationally and how you can set up on eBay. And there's kind of 4 steps based on effort and cost and your sales uplift. So the first step is the global shipping program, which a lot of you enrolled in already, and we'll focus today's session on that in particular, and a lot around the customization to really optimize your sales. The second one is that you can use a partner called Web Interpret. They take your listings, they translate them onto 8 different sites, and but you still have to manage the logistics yourself. The third one is you can optimize your listings yourself, so you can take that in-house, you can translate the listings yourself. And the last one is that you can forward deploy your inventory into that country and act as a domestic seller. Now, what we want to talk to you today is that there is such a thing as a hybrid way of managing your listings. So you could set some up for GSP, and some you could focus on certain corridors like the US or Italy. I think it's a really important way to scale your business. You can start to optimize your international beyond just using Global Shipping Program. Now I'm going to play a short little video which will sum what the Global Shipping Program is, and then I've got a few more points to make until we'll hand over to David for the demo.
What if you could go from selling here to selling here without changing how you ship? Our Global Shipping Program makes international shipping as easy as domestic. Just post to our UK warehouse and your job is done. We take care of the global labels, manage the customs forms, and keep up with the regulations. So there's no extra postage, no extra hassle, and no surprises. With clear upfront charges for your buyers and our negotiated rates with 35 global carriers, they'll feel like they're shopping local too. You could increase your sales by up to 18% and reach 142 million buyers in over 100 countries, all with a simple switch in your settings. Opt in today to see how you can grow when you tap into our global marketplace.
So I just want to underline 3 points of the Global Shipping Program. So the first thing is that you can increase your sales by up to 18% with just a few clicks of a button. It's completely hassle-free. We manage all the custom duties, the forms, and the international leg. All you have to do is worry about getting that to our UK warehouse. And the last piece is that we manage 35 global carriers for you. We negotiate the best rates, and therefore you can focus on your UK domestic business. So it's a completely hassle-free solution to access international from today. And there are some other tools which we do recommend as well beyond the Global Shipping Program around insights. So Terapeak, again, you might think it's just for the UK, just for domestic, but actually you get some really helpful insights to 22 different markets. So for example, in France and Italy, there's a lot of tech, music, jewelry. In Germany, they love their coins, jewelry and sound. And lastly, we've got Austria, Belgium and Netherlands, who again like tech and coins and garden. So it's a really helpful tool just to give you a bit more direction around how you manage your inventory. And with that, I'm going to hand over to David. Again, feel free to get your laptops out, film it, whatever works best for you. But we're going to go a bit deeper on the Global Shipping Program and how to manage your listings. And then we've got a Q&A section at the end, so 10 more minutes, and we'll answer your questions. Cool.
Good morning. How are we all? Are we enjoying ourselves today so far? Good sessions. Has anyone had a one-to-one yet with any of the marketplace advisors? Yep. Fantastic. Good stuff. Well, like Josh said, we have a stall up on number 4. Oh no. Are we in? Okay, so down on number 3. We're on 4. Yeah, down on number 3, and yeah, just come find us if you have specific questions. Now, some of the demo I'm going to show you today, you can't follow along on your mobile, so if you do have a laptop and you do want to follow along, you can only follow along on the laptop because it's all desktop settings. We won't be covering how to actually open a business policies or opt into that, and we won't be covering how you actually set up rate tables. We'll be specifically just telling you what a business policy should look like, and how to customize that if you need to and you want to do a mix, okay? But the first thing we're going to do is make sure that all of you are enrolled properly into the Global Shipping Program so that we can make sure to set up some of those settings, okay? I love it when you forget your password. And don't say it out loud. Again, if you're following along on your laptop, all you need to do is go to your account settings on the top, and you'll get to the next page. Go down to your postage preferences first of all, and then you'll get to a page that looks like this. You'll see enrolled for the Global Shipping Program. If it doesn't say enrolled, it'll say not enrolled. So if it doesn't look like this, you can just click edit here on the right hand side, and you'll get to this page, And all you need to do is make sure both of these boxes are checked and press submit. By making sure both of these boxes are checked, the first one tells us that you want all of your new listings to be available when you list them for the global shipping program and eligible, okay? And the second box tells us that at some stage in the future or now, you might want to customize your settings to say, I want to offer an international service of my own and rates of my own, but for the other ones I want global shipping to do it for me, okay? So make sure both of the boxes are ticked, that way you don't have to come back here later, all right? The next thing we're going to do is check out what your business policy should look like, okay? So I've set one up earlier. All you need to do again is get to your account settings page, top left, account settings, and then click on business policies. Once you're in business policies, it should look like this. You might have more than me. This is just my account, my own personal account. So yeah, and I've got a policy set up ready to go for you. You can just click postage here, or you can create a new policy on postage there, okay? So we'll edit my postage policy, but if it's blank, for instance, and you're creating a policy for the first time, give it a name that you're going to reference later because you will need it. Make sure that you remember that name, write it down somewhere, because what you'll be doing is migrating your listings that are not available for GSP right now into that policy later, okay? And you can do this over multiple different policies. So let's say you have different international services for somewhere in like US, like $8.99, and you want a different policy for Italy at $12.99. You can have 2 or 3. So just remember to give them a different name so you can reference them later, okay? So make sure you set up your domestic and then scroll right down to international. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is talk to you sellers who are just dipping your toes in the water, using global shipping program only, and not using any other services. Okay, so you're not offering your own rate card or any of your own international rates, just GSP. Okay, so it should look like something like this, where you offer no international or no alternative postage, and send today. Global shipping center's got a tick there. Okay, just checking the room. Great, and then what you can do then is you can exclude countries that you do not want to ship to at all through GSP or by yourself. Okay, so if you don't want to ship to these countries, you just set up an exclusion list, and that's it. You press save, your job is done. It'll edit all of the listings automatically for you, so you can see that I think it was no listings in there, but if yours on the side, if I'll just go back one page to show you briefly, on the side there, for instance, you might say 200 or 300 or 3,000, for example, in that policy. It will edit all of those listings that are attributed to that policy already if you're editing a policy that's live already. However, if you're just creating a new one and it says 0, don't worry, you'll be migrating listings in there, okay, later. So back in here again. The next thing we're going to do is talk to sellers who have their own international rate cards, their own international rates, and a bit of GSP as well, so to customize between the two. So we will never show your rates and GSP. We will only ever show one or the other. Okay, so you have to make a business decision of what countries you specifically want to ship to and what countries you want GSP to ship to for you. Okay, and that's before you go setting up these policies or anything like that. So you have to kind of, okay, I want to ship to GSP for all of my inventory going to the US, and I want all of my rate card for Italy by myself. Does that make sense so far? Can I just quickly check in the room, who here has opted into business policies already? Okay, so not even half the room. Okay, that's fine. Just want to clarify, you do not have to be opted into business policies to do this, okay? It's just the easiest way to follow along. The reason it's the easiest way is because everything is in one place, and it can attribute to all of your listings at one time instead of you having to go into the bulk editor and just do 2,000 at a time, for example. Okay, so you don't have to have business policies, but it is the easiest option, so I would strongly recommend opting in, okay? Just to clarify, because I've seen a lot of confused faces in the room. They're like, what's business policies? Okay, so as I said, we're going to do a GSP and a rate card, as in I want to offer myself. So you can see here, I've got ticked the global shipping program, and I offer postage to France for £10. That means that in France, buyers in France will see listings of mine for £10 postage. Buyers everywhere else in the world will see postage through GSP at whatever price that is, at a fully landed cost. This £10 is only for shipping. I still have to pay my customs and do the taxes and forms. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool, just making sure. Okay, so once you've done that, again, you just press save. Now, if you're a seller who has multiple different rate cards and multiple different services, and some of you do, like let's say you have economy, standard, express for France, you can also do that. What I strongly recommend that you do, even if you're just not using business policies, is to set up a rate table. Now, we're not going to go through how to set up a rate table, but you would set up a rate table. You would just set France here, and let's say this is your economy service at £10 going to France. The next thing you would do is create an international rate table. You can see down here, got my mouse over it, and you would set up your standard and express to France at a different price, probably a more expensive price because it's standard and express. Economy is going to be your cheapest option, for example. So just set up one service. If you're offering multiple services to the one country, set up one here and then use the rate table for the rest. You can set up to 40 different rate tables, and that's why I recommend you use rate tables if you're doing that. You can only set up to 4 additional services here, so it's not very much, and the rate tables is your best option. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes, good. We nod. Good stuff. Okay. Excuse me. So let's say now you have all of your business policy or your postage settings ready to go. You've set up your rate table, you've decided on your countries, you've decided on your charges, and you've decided on your services. Okay. How do I get my listings that are not eligible for the global shipping program into that new business policy or into that new postage setting that I've set up? Very easy. All we need to do is go back to your seller hub. So go back to the top. So once you press save, by the way, if it's, again, just to really clarify, if you've already got listings in this policy, you don't need to do any of the next step. It will already do it for you once you hit save. Okay? But if you don't have a business policy and you've set up your postage settings and you want to make sure that all of these settings are attributed, you'll need to do that many times. You can just go to the My eBay, Selling, Listings, and Active. Once you're in your active listings, you're going to bulk edit all of your listings. So tick the box at the very top left of the screen, click edit. Now, sometimes you might have to say more than 50 on a page, you might have to go more, but you can say edit selected or edit all. In this case, I'm going to edit all because there's only a small number here. You can do 2,000 at a time here. 2,000 is not a lot for some sellers who have millions and millions of listings. Excuse me, sorry, and I'll cover more in a second. But anyway, we're in the bulk editor. This is what it looks like. Again, tick the top box, press bulk edit, and this is where you needed that name that I told you about earlier. Going to postage policy. Postage policies here, change to, and then select the postage policy that you created. And that's how you migrate your listings. Now once you press save, we'll say, are you sure you want to do this? And then you'll say yes, and then you'll hit submit, and then we'll say, are you really sure you want to do this? And you say yes again. So we just ask you a couple of times just to make sure that that's it. Now obviously I'm not going to submit here to show you those settings because I don't need to change it. Excuse me, sorry, but those are the options that you'll get. Now if you're using a third-party lister, like Limworks or Pentagon or whoever it might be to manage your setting, or even if you're using a third-party API, again, business policies is the best way to go. Set up your policy and then map your listings into that policy name. Okay? That's for the sellers who are using third parties or third-party listers or whatever it happens to be. Does that make sense for everyone? We'll cover questions in a moment, if that's okay. Just making sure it makes sense first. Yeah? Great, and that's the demo. That's really how you migrate your listings into the GSP. I did forget one thing. I do apologize, Josh. I forgot one part. It's how do I find the listings that aren't available for GSP, right? It's again into your active listings, and you need to go to the search here on the top, go to item title, but select global shipping program, and then select is not enabled. Press search, and that will give you the full listings, and then just go to the bulk editor. That was the bit I forgot about, but now we've covered it. Does that now make sense? Because some of you were looking, how do I find the listings, I think. Yeah? Okay, again, if you have specific questions, we have a stand downstairs. Come and find us after if you need. We can cover questions.